This happened about 6 years ago. I live in a fairly small city and at that time was in a slightly sketchy area. It wasn't the full-blown sketch area, but I was on the border of the area just before the nicer area of the city. Not a whole lot went on around this area, mostly people that had lived in houses for a few years or more, the odd student house and some locally owned small businesses. I lived on the first of 3 floors in an old but beautiful Victorian home. We had a 4-bedroom unit with high ceilings, hardwood, natural light, and ample storage. It was great. And since it was just inside the sketchy area, rent was reasonable. I felt pretty safe in this house, but I don't really know why. I had 3 roommates and really only one of them would be any help in a crisis. I still felt safe for some reason. Well, that changed quickly. This particular night, all my roommates had left to go grab some snacks at the nearby convenience store. It was about 2 a.m. and I was fast asleep and had to get up for work in about 4 hours. For some perspective, the head of my bed was against the outside wall of the house facing the street. The wall was directly behind my head and the window was about a foot to my left while laying down. I wake up to some kind of noise around my window. Groggy, I listened to see if I heard anything further or if it was a falling icicle or something. I heard nothing else, so I tried to fall back asleep. About 1 minute later, I hear my roommates return from their snack run through the back door at the other side of the house. So I thought, okay, they probably tapped to my window to see if I was awake. Cool, sleep time. Again, I tried to fall asleep. A couple of minutes pass, and all of a sudden I hear snow crunching around my window. Still partially asleep, groggy, and confused, I shift my eyes to look at the window. I can see just between the shades in the window frame, and I see a figure approaching my window. Honestly, I was in shock for a few seconds. Why was someone near my window? Am I dreaming? Who is this person? As I'm watching this person, they can't see in the room, or me, at the angle I'm on. They begin to grab my window. Remember how I said it was an old Victorian? Yeah, well, it had old wooden windows. Gorgeous, but maybe not the most secure. This person then proceeds to pop open my window. I think my mouth actually opened as I'm watching this happen before my eyes. He then reaches into my room and moves aside my curtain. The only thing I said, the only thing I could think at the time, was, "What the fuck?" I've never seen someone whip their head around so fast in all my days. He looked right at me and ran off. I was laying there for another 30 seconds or so before I could even process what just happened. I got up and went into the common room and told my roommates what just occurred. Initially, they thought I was joking. Then they actually realized I was dead serious. I ended up calling the local non-emergency dispatch and they set up a radius around my area fairly quickly. Unfortunately, they didn't catch anyone. I'm pretty sure it was the guy from across the street, but I can't say for sure. Turns out, the first noise I heard was the guy popping out the screen from the window. He kept walking and placed it against the next house, which the police found. I'm assuming he saw or heard my approaching roommates and waited until they were inside to return. I slept with a knife beside my bed for the rest of that tenancy and opted to slide my armoire in front of the window. I had to sacrifice natural light for a few months, but at least I felt a little bit safer. To this day, I refuse to live in any ground level units. So, Mr. Attempted Break and Enter / possible neighbour, let's not meet. This took place a few months back. Don't know if this even belongs here. I also got to apologise for any weird formatting or grammatical errors, for I am on my phone and English is my second language, and I hope I wasn't overreacting or something. For context, I'm a teenage girl, stick with me on this one. I look a bit older than I actually am, simply because of how tall I am, but you can still tell that I'm a kid. I always wear baggy clothes to make myself look a bit bigger and try my best not to stick out. Anyways, I was going to go out and buy myself some snacks and whatnot, as I occasionally did. Not too long after I went outside, a large man, possibly in his late 30s to early 40s, with a large blondish beard, approached me. Now, I'm the kind of kid who can't really say no and walk away. The man said I looked familiar, and after some time, said that he knew my father and was a good friend of his. Oh boy, was he adamant that he knew him. It wasn't uncommon for me to meet my father's buddies, so I mentioned my father by his nickname, which everyone knew him by, and especially a friend would use when referring to him. This guy had absolutely no idea who that was, which raised a red flag or two. Then he pulled me closer to him, stating that
you'd get run over by being that far out in the street.
Which simply wasn't true, as the street was absolutely huge, rarely any cars passed by, and I wasn't even half a meter away from the sidewalk, which was always blocked by cars. I was getting pretty uncomfortable with the fact that he pulled me closer to him, but soon after, he started pressuring me into giving him my phone number and that he wouldn't take no for an answer, saying things such as,
"You don't need your parents' approval, it's your phone after all."
Then he added in how we could go to the local pub, all whilst getting a bit touchy, grabbing my hand and such. I was trying to make it clear that I wasn't comfortable with any of this, but you see, little old me can't say anything without softening it in real life. Then I saw someone familiar walking by, that someone being my uncle. I tried to signal him to get me out of this, and he did. He told me to go and pulled me away from the man, which ended up with the guy swearing at him, clearly mad. My uncle then instructed me to call my mother to meet me halfway back home after I went to the store. I didn't see him again when I went home. That's that. So, creepy guy who I never met before, please, let's not ever meet again. This happened a few weeks ago. I was with some friends at a bar. This specific location was a bar in the evening and then turned into a club by night. At a certain hour, everyone is asked to either leave or pay the entrance fee to stay for the nightclub part. We were dancing and I noticed a few guys getting close to our group and watching us. During a song, one even got in the middle of our group to dance with us and tried to dance with one of the girls, but she put her hand around another guy from our group. A little while later, the same guy came and grabbed me from behind while I was dancing, and I just turned around and politely told him, "No, sorry, I've got a boyfriend," while shaking my head and my hands to motion no, to be sure my message got across. But when I tried to get away from him, he grabbed my hands and tried to pull me. As soon as one of my friends noticed this whole scene, he grabbed the guy and asked him what his deal was. Then, everything happened very fast. One of the creep's friends jumped in as well and they were talking. They eventually left and I asked my friend what they were saying as the music was too loud for me to hear. These fuckers just tried convincing my friend that they knew me and everything was okay if I went with them. I honestly don't know how they thought this would work. I had a few drinks, but nowhere near enough to make me drunk. So, creepy guys in the club, let's not meet again. This just happened a little over an hour ago. For anyone that hasn't read my other Let's Not Meets, I work at an apartment complex and sometimes I get to deal with unpleasant individuals. Usually they're residents, but today it was a complete stranger. I had just locked up our office and was walking to my car when I passed a man walking towards the office. I said hello to him as I passed and unlocked my car. Seeing the office was closed, he turned and screamed,
"Hey, do you work here?"
as he began to sprint full speed at me. My instinct was to run and I put my car between us, throwing my bags into the car. My guard up, I said yes and he told me he needed to get in there as he pointed towards the office. "I'm sorry, but we're closed for the day. You'll have to come back tomorrow when we're open." The man made a weird face like he was in pain and started to twist his shirt around.
"I really need to get in there, like now. I need an apartment."
Again, and I told him he would need to come back another day.
"I can. This is the only day I can be in town to get my apartment."
"I'm sorry, but our office is closed and I have to get to the bank before it closes to make this deposit." Even if I had stayed open late for him, it would take 24 hours to get the results of his background check. He wouldn't be able to sign a lease until Monday, at the earliest anyway, and I was getting off vibes from him. I got into my car. He made that pained face again.
"I'll come with you."
He then proceeded to try and get into my front passenger seat. Thankfully, both doors on the passenger side of my car are damaged from an accident I was in a few years ago and neither open anymore. Needless to say, I got the hell out of there. So weird guy that tried to get in my car. Let's not meet again. For context, I'll give a little bit of my backstory. I'm a small female, 5'2" and 150 pounds. I'm muscular and I'm 25. I'm from a very small town in Arkansas. I also suffer from PTSD from severe sexual abuse when I was a child. I don't enjoy people touching me. I was in Mobile, Alabama, for a car show with my dad. We planned the trip last minute and unfortunately booked a room in a crappy motel. It's right by the interstate. A man walks up to me and begins to hold a conversation. He begins to creepily comment on my physical appearance, talking about my thighs and calves. He reaches down, grabs my calf, and squeezes my leg. He continues to talk to me besides my obvious discomfort. I try to end the conversation, but he pulls a fast one and offers a handshake. Being raised the way I was, I couldn't turn down the handshake. It's just Southern code of conduct is to be polite, even when you don't want to be. Dude kisses my cheek. He says something, and I couldn't catch what he said, and he kisses my cheek again. Being in a big city, this is terrifying because you don't know who will hurt you. Creepy cheek kisser. Let's not meet again. About 6 years ago, some friends and I were having a few drinks at a local bar we used to frequent. After about an hour or so, I noticed a woman continuously glancing in my direction. She was staring at me as if nobody else was around. About 3 or 4 drinks in, I made my way for the bathroom. On my way back, I noticed she was now sitting next to my seat at the bar. Of course, like any young horny male, I thought, cool, here's my chance to score. We started talking, but before I could take a sip of my drink, a friend of mine pulled me off to the side. He told me to take notice of the bottom of my drink and that something was fizzing. Sure enough, I could see what looked like the remnants of a pill dissolving. When I sat back down, I asked her if she wouldn't mind holding my seat while I used the bathroom again. I took the drink with me this time and poured it into the toilet. I then looked in the mirror and said, "It's showtime." I stumbled my way back to the bar and asked her if she wouldn't mind giving me a ride home. Little did she know I had phoned the police on my way out of the bathroom and gave them her complete description. After about 5 minutes in her car, I could see the red and blues behind us. Once the officer got her out of the car, he emptied her purse and found a bag filled to the brim with roofies. As she was being taken away, I shot her a goodbye kiss, the middle finger, and shouted, "You gave it a good old college try, I'll give you that." This happened a couple years ago, but I just recently found this sub, as in today. I was working as a delivery driver for a large soda company whose name rhymes with Schmepsy. My route took me to several small towns, all of which had a population of no more than 5,000 or so. It was a pretty good route because I always dealt with the same people and I loved my customers. Whilst delivering to a dollar store in one of the larger towns, one day a man walked up to me and stood, watching me for a moment from about 20 feet away. It should be noted that I keep my head shaved due to a receding hairline and shit hair genes. After several minutes of me trying to ignore the guy, he walks up and I'm expecting the usual stupid, "Just put that in my car," joke that I would get 60,000 times a day. Instead, he says,
Hey man, I like your shaved head.
"Thanks, man," I said awkwardly.
You part of the club?
He asked. I stared at him for a minute, confused. Finally, he lifted his sleeve to show me a swastika tattoo on his bicep. I probably should have also mentioned that this dude was at least 60. I told him that I wasn't a Nazi, racist, or bigot, and then politely asked him to leave me alone before I called the cops on him for harassment. He laughed it off and started to shuffle away. Before he got too far, he turned and told me that I should join his club, and that he would be around if I changed my mind. The manager at this place told me it was Crazy Earl and that he's just like that. Obviously that wasn't his name, I changed it for the story. Now, I know this sounds like a normal story, but every time I came back to deliver, 3 times a week until the day I quit, Crazy O would be standing at the tree line of the wooded area behind the store. He would stare at me while I unloaded and be gone by the time I was done delivering. It freaked me out so much that after about a month, I actually did tell the sheriff while at another stop. Don't know if he ever looked into it. Let's not meet again, Crazy O. Like, ever. This happened a few months ago in the McDonald's at Copenhagen station. I am not Danish, only visiting the country for one day, and since I wanted to travel cheap, I decided to take the cheapest bus there, which just so happened to be the one arriving at 11 PM the day before. I thought I could save even more money by not renting a bed somewhere and instead spending the night awake, or half asleep, at the station, do my business the next day, and sleep long and well on the bus back home. So this McDonald's is open 24/7. I pretty early discovered that the station was too cold for me to get some shut-eye, so I went inside and bought a coffee and sat down at an empty table. Plenty of lighting and semi-drunk people to keep me awake, I thought. I should add, I'm 23 and female. After a while of sitting in my spot, a strange guy walked over and placed a full cup of soda on my table. He said in Danish something I believe meant,
I ate my food already. I didn't drink any. You should have it instead.
I'm Swedish, and although some Swedes understand Danish perfectly well, I have some difficulties doing so this is just a guess. Anyway, I didn't really pay much attention to the cup after it was put on my table, just wrote it off as a random drunk trying to flirt. But I noticed that in front of me, a table away, sat another guy, and he was watching me closely because we did lock eyes the time I looked up to peek at him. This creeped me out. I really didn't like being watched like this, and he just sat there for nearly an hour, even though he had no food in front of him. In the end, this dude stood up and walked over to me, and I cursed internally, thinking I'd have to defend myself and tell him to leave. But he turned, and there stood the guy that had left the soda cup on my table. He told the soda guy to leave after pushing the soda cup back into his arms, and that he didn't want to see him anywhere near this place again. Then he turned to me and explained in English that soda guy had walked by my table several times glancing at me in the cup and was probably waiting for me to drink it. He said he'd finished his meal a while ago and just stayed to watch over me, but had to leave and reminded me to be careful. I hadn't even noticed soda guy supposedly pacing by. I was too fixated on this other dude who just happened to be the good guy watching over me. Who knows what was in that soda, and what would have happened should I have gotten really thirsty and drank some of it. So thank you, McDonald's guy who watched over me. And let's not meet soda guy. Hey guys, hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please like, comment, subscribe, and if you do decide to do that, please turn post notifications on so you'll be notified when I upload a new video. I try and upload at least once a week. And yeah, hope you enjoyed. If you have a story you want to submit, send it to me. You can see the details for how to do that in the description. And have a good day. Thanks guys.